Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and today we are back with another exciting tutorial on Argo CD. So this will be a continuation for Argo CD tutorial for beginners, and in our last video we discussed about how to set up Argo CD. So this video we will continue on that topic. So we already have the Argo CD set up, and if you don't know how to set up, please have a look on my previous video, which I will link into this video description. And once you have set up the Argo CD, now we need to see how we can deploy our application to your Kubernetes cluster, right? So the Argo CD works like a GitOps, so where you have your Git repository where you have all your applications and your Kubernetes manifest file. So where it will pull the deployment services based on the desired and the current state and desired state, right? So that's what we are going to see. Like we will make use of Argo CD and we will see how this application is getting deployed into your Kubernetes cluster, right? So we also see this diagram in our previous tutorial where we have this Git repositories where you'll have your application, different versions. You will merge your changes into your Git repository. So whenever there is a change, the Argo CD will pull the changes, like it will keep checking your what is your current state and what is your desired state in your GitHub. So it will use the webhook and it will pull those changes into your Kubernetes cluster, and it will apply your in a desired stage into your Kubernetes cluster. So that's what we are going to see in our tutorial as a hands-on. So let's get started on it. So before we get started into that, I will request you, like if you are new to my channel, if you are not subscribed to my channel, I would request you to subscribe, click the like button, put the notification so that any new videos you will be notified. So let's get started on the actual demo after this. If you go to my channel and if you look to this video, what is Argo CD, how to install Argo CD, please have a look. If you are not set up your Argo CD, follow the instructions. You will also see all the details in the GitHub repository. You can just use those code to set up your installation. And once you set up your Argo CD, you will have the login and you will have this web page where you can set up your applications, right? So you can see already I have a installation or an application setup, and this was not discussed in the previous tutorial. Now we are going to see how this can be set up. Okay, and before you set up an application, what you need is you need to have a Git repository where you should have an application, which can be any kind of application, whether it's a Node.js or it can be a .NET or it can be any kind of application which you want to deploy into your Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so what I'm going to use a test version of application for which is called Solar System, and I forked this from GitHub Action Solar System from Code Cloud Hub, and this is a very simple application from Node. JS. It's like you can see like package.json, index.html, app.json. So they also have a Docker file to build your application into a Docker image. It also have this Kubernetes uh, folder where you have this production and development, where you'll have this deployment and service YAML, and in development there are other file. But you need to customize this. Okay, so I'm using only the production ones where I using only the deployment and service YAML file. And I also created a Docker image from this application, so because you need to have a place where you can pull the Docker image. So for you, in your case, you may not have to build this because you can use my Docker image itself. So I have built the application. I have pushed it into Docker Hub. So you can see I have an application, and it's called Solar System. So this is installed in Docker Hub. So it's a public one. So you can use the tag is 1.0. It's not the latest. Okay. So and also I have set up this deployment.yaml where I have set this namespace as solar system, and also the image. You can see I'm using my image over here, and you can also the service which is also set for namespace solar system. Okay, and if you want to change, you can change this files, but this is my GitHub repo. You can fork it to yours, or you can pull the code, you can push it back to your image GitHub. So it's up to you. But in case if you want to build your own image, just clone this GitHub repo. Just use Docker commands like docker build -t and your Docker Hub login slash the image name and the tag and the location of the files, the Docker file, and just build it. And then you can use Docker login and Docker push it to your Docker hub. Okay. Now let's see how we can uh, inst use this application in Argo CD so that whenever there is a change in the desired and current state, the Argo CD can by default deploy in the application. Okay, and what we are going to see once we deploy, you're going to see a web page like this called the solar system. Okay, so that's the ultimate agenda for out of this application. So what you can do is before we start an application, what you can do is you can go to settings, and there will be like different folders like repositories, certificates. You can go to repositories, and you can see I already added few repositories like Node app, Argo CD, Solar application. What you can do is you can also click on connect, and you can give a name for the repository. For example, I will give a new solar system repo. Okay, and the project. Okay, we will talk about project and application in the upcoming tutorials. For now, you just use default project. Okay, so in Argo CD you have something called project and also application. Okay, and what we're going to see in this tutorial is application, and in the repository you can use the location of your repository, the master branch, and you can put it into the repository. Okay, and you can connect. Okay, so it's because it's the repository spec is different, use a different flag. Yeah, because you just use the HTTPS. Okay, and you can use the type as Git. Okay, and you can connect because you don't use the username and password because this is and public repository, so you don't need. If you're using a private one, you need to give a username and password for authentication. So I'm using HTTPS now, and this is a Git repository, so I'm using Git. You are using Helm charts, you can use Helm charts. Okay, and just click on connect. So what we're seeing now again, the reason is because the repository is already there, so that's why it's giving those errors, because I already have that repo connected into it, so I will just use a different repository this time. Okay, and you can see it's connected, so you can see this one is connected. Again, it's a different one. Okay, here you can see the solar system. It's the one which I already had. If I go and edit, you can see I have the name, everything I have given. Okay, and this is a different repository I have added. If you don't want, you just click on disconnect and you just delete it, so it will be going off from there as well. Okay, and if you want to edit, you can come here and you can click on edit, and you can change the repository details or anything, or you can make the changes here. Okay, now we have this repository added, so the same way you can add the repository which you want to add from Git. The next step is to create an app, and what the app does, so when you create an app, what we are going to do is we are going to say the Argo CD to look these files from the GitHub repo, okay, so that it can keep looking into those files, and if there is any change or any configuration changes in those files, the Argo CD will pull those changes into your Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so that's what is going to happen. For example, I'm going to deploy this application into Kubernetes cluster, so it's going to have a deployment and also services. Okay, and when you deploy and have a service in the Kubernetes cluster, it will keep looking for the deployment and the services file in the GitHub repo, and when you make any changes there, those changes will be applied into your Kubernetes cluster. Okay, and there are two ways to do it. There is a sync policy which is for manual and automatic. If it's an automatic, it will be keep looking for those changes. If it's a manual, then we have to sync manually. Okay, so now what we will do is we will use test solar system application. Okay, test solar system application, and the project, as I mentioned, is default, and we have a manual. And what we need to do is we will skip these options, because you can see there are different options which talks about the different settings like creating namespace, apply auto sync, out of sync only, server side apply, different things. We will talk about this later. Okay, Now what you need to do is you need to select the repository so URL. So I'm going to use the Argo CD because that's where our main config files are there, and this is going to be had the branches, okay? And if it's going to be some tags, so tag branches, you can use there, and the path. The path you have to be very clear because now in your application and the files which we want to use is in the production, right? So it will be this is your home path, then slash Kubernetes, then production, right? So I will use this path here. So it should be dot slash and it should be Kubernetes slash production. So that this is the path where our main files are there, and the cluster, Kubernetes cluster, is the default cluster which we have installed Argo CD. And how if you don't know how to set up, as I mentioned, just have a look onto the last video, where I published how to set up Argo CD. And the namespace, I'm going to use test solar system. Okay, and this namespace is not there at this point. If you see kubectl get namespace, you don't have this test namespace. You have Argo CD, you have solar system, you don't have a test solar system. Okay, and these things I will keep it as it is and just click on save or create, not save, create. Okay, now what you can see is I have created this app and it says out of sync, and there are two warnings because there are no resources, right? There's an application, there is a deployment and service. Both of these are not there in your Kubernetes cluster. So even the namespace is not there. So it's looking for these ones in the Kubernetes cluster and it is not there. Okay. That is where it's out of sync. So actually it is supposed to create a service and also a deployment, and it's based on that it has to create two replica set. Okay. Because when you look into this app, and if you go and look into your number of replicas, I have given two. Okay, so it is supposed to create two replica set, and based on that it should create the pod, right? So it has not created it. So now what I can do is I will click on sync manually and synchronize. Okay, let's see what it does. So I'm not giving the automatic sync. I'm trying to sync it sync what I said. I'm going to sync manually. Okay, now it is synced, and I have not. One thing I wanted to show you was I thought I given the test solar system as the namespace, but it is not the namespace. It is, what did we do? The namespace is defined in your YAML file. So we are using the namespace here, solar system. So it is already there. So if you see the solar system namespace, it's already there. That's why it's got deploy. Now if we have given the namespace as test solar system, it would not have deployed because the namespace is not there. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to use test solar system. Okay, I'm going to commit the change. Let me go back and sync. Now you see the sync is failed. Why it failed? One or more object failed because the namespace test solar system not found. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. Like if the namespace is not there, it will fail. What you can do is you can select auto create namespace and you can sync. So it will create a namespace. So it depends upon the configuration you want. You can manually create it and then you can apply it as well. Now what it says, test solar system not found, but you can see it's created now. Okay, and I think it has created the solar system. Okay, test solar system. I think it should be there. If we go here, kubectl get namespace, you can see test solar system. It is here. Okay, so it has created the test solar system. Okay, the reason it's failing is because the service is again we need to change here test solar system. Okay, because it should match the both the deployment and the services. We just change only in the deployment. Okay, let's try again. It's funny, I have given the names. It's not the solar system. I given slower system. The name is completely messed up. Sorry about that. So I need to change based on this. You can see the problem, right? The namespace I have given for the application is completely different, whereas in the no, the manifest file is different. So it has created this namespace, but it is looking for the test solar system. So I'm just changing this one to test solar system. Okay, so that it create a new namespace. Okay, so let me sync again. Let me auto create. Okay, that's how we learn mistakes and we correct. Right, that's the thing in the IT industry, right? So we do make mistakes and we learn from it and we correct and we consider it as learning and next time you don't make the same mistakes. You document those and you share it with others. Okay, now you can see the sync is okay, but it's still progressing because it has to deploy the application and also it has to create the services. So we can see now the status. Okay, so we see go to kubectl get all and it's in the namespace test solar system. Okay, now we can see it's creating. Okay, so it's running. Which one is running, one is creating. Okay, and you can see the service, it's a node port, but it don't have an external IP yet, so we need to export, or we need to put the IP address for it. Okay, let me see what the status. Now we can see all the ports are running, and for the service, in order to access the service from externally, you need to put port forward the service. So in order to port forward, you use kubectl port forward, and the service name is solar system, and it's in the test solar system, and it's using the port 3000. Okay, so I'm just going to port forward. So you need to do the port forwarding with this command. So as we are using the port 3000. So how do you know which port is using? If you go here, you can see the container port is 3000 we are using. So we are port forwarding to the 3000. Okay. So once you do that, you can use your IP address and or localhost and the 3000, and you can access the web page. Okay. So now if you go to your the sync, I think it shows some things unsync. You can just sync again if there is any changes. So once you sync your application, you can see status shows healthy. So now you can see I have two application, one the solar system and other one the test solar system app. This one we just created. Okay. Now what you can do is you can make the changes on the application YAML file here. And we map the application into this YAML file, production.yaml and the service.yaml. So if you want to make some changes, I want to use a different image, you just use 2.0 and you just sync it, or you just change the manual sync to automatic sync. You can sync it here, or you just change to automatic sync. So it will automatically pick up those changes and it will update into your Kubernetes cluster. So that's how the GitOps works. Now this is your source of truth, the GitHub repository. So whenever you make a changes from here, it will get applied into your Kubernetes cluster. So your application get automatically updated whenever it's synced, your Kubernetes cluster is synced to your GitHub repository by the Argo CD. So there are different ways to plan this, like frequencies, the syncing concepts, and all those things, which we'll look into the upcoming tutorial. In this tutorial, I wanted to show you how you create an application and how you configure your GitHub repository, the source of truth to Argo CD, so that it get applied into your Kubernetes cluster, and how you're configuring this, what actually happens. So we use the solar system as an app, so you can also use from my GitHub repository, and you can use the image as well in your my Docker Hub. So that's all for this tutorial. And if you have any questions or anything to set up, the Argo CD, you let me know in the comment section. I will help you do as much as possible from my end. And if you have any feedbacks or any suggestion, just put it to your comment section. And if you're new to my channel, if you have not subscribed, click on the subscribe button, like the video, and put on the notification icon so you'll be notified about any changes in any new videos which I upload. So thank you for watching.